and welcome to Brunch with Bari. I'm sitting with Katie Christie of Voices United, and we are having brunch. It is a mixture of pastries from Chocolate Fashion in downtown Coral Gables and the Biltmore, the Cellar Cafe right here, and we're enjoying a beautiful lemon pound cake from the cellar at the Biltmore and other pastries from Chocolate Fashion. Welcome. So first, thank you for traveling so far to be with us, specifically for the White Card.
Yes.
Can you tell us where you're living for part of the year?
Yeah, so I'm living in Lesotho, which is a small country, actually a kingdom.
A kingdom?
Inside of South Africa, one of the few countries in the world landlocked in one country. We've been there for about a year, like a back and forth, and it's been quite an experience. We're there working to build the Voices United Village, which will be a haven for artists and activists and educators, and a place with multiple venues where artists can present and create and collaborate from all over the world. So
you're from Miami, and you created Voices United as a young person, still in high school?
Yes.
What is Voices United? Let's start there.
Yeah, so Voices United is a nonprofit organization designed to promote cross-cultural understanding through the arts. So we for more than 30 years now have utilized the arts to bring people together, build community, talk about issues that are important to young people in the community, and then also taking that same process that I sort of created accidentally when I was young, and using it internationally and nationally and in schools and in all kinds of different formats, allowing people, giving people sort of like a platform and a mechanism to express themselves through the arts, whether they're want to be an artist or just want to, learn more about themselves or stand up for something they believe in. So we kind of go in a lot of different directions, using the arts to do all sorts of things for people.
That's the beauty of the arts. It's such a bridge between all elements of what it is to be alive, being
Right.
human. And as we're constantly evolving, so is our relationship to art, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
I think two things that are extraordinary just about what you just said are, I'm curious as to how this came about to begin with when you were, 17 or really?
Yeah, 17, yeah.
And then how I think it's extraordinary that you've stuck with it all these years.
Right.
So what led you to start it to begin with?
Yeah, so there's an organization called Peace Child, and I was a student studying musical theater. I was at New World School of the Arts, and in the summer, if you're really you don't ever want to stop learning, and working hard, and of course the ethic at New World was very serious. And so what are you going to do in the summer when you're not in school, And so everybody was going to French Woods and the regular places.
I went to French Woods.
Yeah, But my mom wasn't into that. She was like thinking that there needed to be something different for me. So she went and talked to the dean, Dr. Gennaro, who many of us in the community love in the theater world. And, he named a million things, and she was like, nope, none of those things sound like my Katie. And so he pulled this brochure out of the trash,
really?
Literally. And it was for this thing called Peace Child, where it's a musical theater production that is done with American kids and Soviet kids. This is in the 80s during the Cold War. So she's like, that's the thing. That's what she's going to do. She's going to do theater in the Soviet Union. So I went between the summer between my junior and senior year on this Peace Child trip to the Soviet Union, to Latvia. Now it's its own country.
Yeah.
And it was in that month-long experience that I realized how much more could happen with theater. There was a moment where I was singing this song and I was sick. And so I had my eyes closed just to make sure my voice was gonna come out, just really focusing. And I started to sing, and my voice was working. And when I opened my eyes, I saw in the audience that people were weeping. It was like they knew what I was saying, but it was coming through my heart because they didn't speak English. I wasn't singing in Latvian. And so, yeah, that's when I understood, like, this can change the world, you know? This is changing the world in a way that I always, I always had concerns about what was going on in the world and never knew what I could do about it. But I felt like in that moment I could see change occurring. We had this very strong sort of like misunderstanding of each other's cultures. And to get to spend time and see theater just melt that away made me want to do that. So I came home and I told my parents, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a Peace Child in Miami. And, they hoped I would like get over it. And I apparently, my dad tells the story in a funny way, but I pestered and I kept nagging and then they helped me make it happen.
How? Like, what happened?
I mean, really, we put an ad in the newspaper, and I got my old high school, Gulliver Prep, the drama teacher there, who I had worked with. She gave me the gymnasium, and we had like 110 kids come to their first audition.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just kind of like, a cold call. And so from there we put up this show, and it was actually at the old Actors Playhouse. They let us use their space for a weekend, and then that was the beginning of it. The school system was interested in the show, so then from then on we had a nice relationship with, Dade County Public Schools, and announcements went out through all the schools, and
Katie?
Shows would, kids would come to shows. We would bus them in to the Olympia, then the Gusman.
Wow.
Yeah. So for years and years we continued to do these shows
but like you must have had so many other, how did you balance that with the rest of your life, or did that become the central focus of your life all these years?
It's always been the central focus of my life. Unfortunately, the way that things work is that, I have there's not enough funding out there really for me to do this work for my job most of the time, So I usually have another job, which is kind of cool because I got to work at a school for the deaf for a really long time. So,
plus you were at like places like the Roundabout for extended periods of time.
Right.
You were in charge of
lots
thousands
of things.
of people and programs. And
Voices United has a lot of big dreams, like I founded it when I was a kid. So it has big dreams in my mind and always has. And so I've always wanted to kind of build a sort of center, a hub, but I never thought it was going to be possible. What a long shot. Certainly not in America. Where would I get the capital to have a space or anything like that? And so it happens that my husband is from Lesotho and happens to be related to the royal family, like in a, not that he's like
so
a
how did
walking
this
around
happen?
royal sort of way.
How did you meet him? And let me just make sure I can say it right. Lesotho.
Yes,
There.
that's exactly it.
Lesotho.
Yay,
Lesotho,
because most people, it's hard. It
Well,
doesn't
I wanted to
sound
hear
like
you
it
say
looks.
it. No, it doesn't. There's a TH in there.
Yes, right. You want to say Lesotho.
I do want to say that, but
Yes.
I'm not going to. It's
Yes.
Lesotho.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So the cool thing is getting to do this work for years and years, I've worked with a ton of amazing people who grow up to be amazing people. And so one of the young people from Voices United, she became a foreign service officer for our State Department. And
Wow.
the first place that she was placed was at the U.S. Embassy in Maseru in Lesotho. So, just being amazing like she is, she started programs engaging young people and leadership
Wow.
for youth. And there she, gave somebody a camera to take some pictures. When she got those pictures back, she realized this person has actual talent. And she started to realize that there was a lot of amazing talent amongst the young people there, but not really any great place for them to put that or utilize that. Mm-hmm. So she invited Voices United to come out.
Wow.
And we did. It was a small little group. I brought 4 of my young people, but we worked with about, 55 youth from Lesotho. The youngest was like 10, but the international definition of youth is like 16 to 35.
Really?
Yes. So I was like, this group is amazing. This is like easy peasy. Then I was like, oh, most of them are adults. Like what we would consider adults. But It was an amazing experience, and I met him there.
Wow.
The rest is history.
Is history being written now?
Right. Yeah, so because of that, I've been back to Lesotho multiple times, and there was a death of a chief, one of the paramount chiefs, and as mother-in-laws do, his mom said, you need to go pay your respects, and so we went, and I don't know how my husband did it. He's super slick. But while we were, offering our condolences, he also told her about our idea to build this village somewhere in Lesotho. And she said, well, you'll do it here in Rote, because I can just birth you whatever you need. Because, her husband was the chief now. She's the chief. And so, that sort of shifted all of my plans around, because we were just given like more than, it's not easy to measure a lot of land, but more than 80 acres.
Wow. Mm-hmm. All I know is that when I have spoken to you there, the bird song is off the chart.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know why. I don't know if the birds are louder, or if there's just so many more kinds of birds, or
trees,
just less buildings. There's not a lot of trees. But I don't know, or less ambient noise that we don't think about, air conditioners.
I don't know, but the image it puts in my mind is one of extraordinary beauty.
Yes, oh gosh, it's incredibly beautiful. And so that's why, I sort of, shifted my plans to leave Roundabout and, head out to Lesotho.
So, but Miami has always been a grounding place for you. I know that you, no matter where you've been, you come back to Miami and...
Right.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, so, I grew up here. I've lived here. I think, I wasn't born here, but I've lived here since I was 1.5.
I see.
So.
Where were you born?
Indianapolis.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
My parents used to call it, or I'm told they called it Indianapolis. I've never been there, but I was born there. So I've lived here most of my life. And there's something really cool about Miami. I've seen it go through a lot of change, a lot of change. It's become, a lot richer, I want to say, over time, with the influx of so many more people coming from so many more places. But there's always been, a lot of also things that are not quite gelling in this community.
Yeah.
And as being, I'm adopted into, a white family, and so that...
A white Jewish family.
A white Jewish family. Well, yes, my father's Greek and my mom is Jewish. So.
Oh, so you have the best food.
Right, really good food and really good celebrations all around.
Yeah, it's true.
So I got to really kind of be in a lot of situations where I could see all of the sort of places where things rubbed, which wasn't a great, wasn't fun. So I wanted to figure out what can I do about that, which is why Voices United. But
was it not fun because you felt where do I belong?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure which community is gonna actually accept me, and really what I did is I created the community that accepted me, but I didn't realize I was doing that at the time, of course. So I have this, deep love for this city, and I've always known, there's a lot of stories of people who, grow up in a city and want to do something and then they leave,
Almost every city.
Right. And Miami has a particular skill at exporting, in particular, artistic talent.
Why is that?
Because there's just not a lot of work here, I think, for some reason. We don't have, Miami isn't as theatery and dancey as other communities for some reason.
It's hard to wrap your head around it though, because I see, like, I'm so new. So on one hand, like, I have a sharp lens because I'm still, like, you know, from away and I'm just like looking. But even from that landscape, because I see that it's thin, I think. I haven't been able to excavate deep enough to be like totally knowledgeable on that front, but it's my kind of instinct. And yet there's, first of all, the history of South Florida theater, the history of Florida theater is so vibrant and deep and long and storied. And even now, I mean, even in just this Miami area, there's so many exceptional companies and theater makers, some of which have been around a long time.
For a really long time.
Yeah, not to mention places like New World.
Yeah, I think it's something that all of us sort of wonder about.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, you know, there is the reality that, like, especially if you grow up wanting to be, you know, in the arts, there are places that are like the dream place for that to happen. And all of our training is focused on that, you know, like, or at least it was.
It's
It was
true.
focused on when you get to New York.
It's true.
You know? And so
I think those days might be over, I hope. I really have loved having you as a new figure in my life. I've loved every conversation we've had. So I had reached out to Art Equity when I knew we were going to be doing this play, The White Card, by the poet-playwright Claudia Rankine. And it's a Florida premiere. And I knew that I needed someone extraordinary to lead the conversation around that play, and specifically after every single performance, I wanted to make sure we were able to offer engagement for the audience. And you read the play, and you said, let's do it.
Yeah.
What about the play itself made you jump?
Oh, gosh. I mean, first of all, it's honesty right away. I mean, I've been connected to theater for a really long time, and part of like why I've always stayed engaged in theater is because of like what I think it can be, but I've also most of the time felt like I'm doing this part, but it doesn't feel authentic to me, or I don't really care about this story, but this is the play we're doing. And so when I read this right away, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so honest and so much reflects like a million different little scenarios that are just like what so many of us have lived, and done in such a way that felt like easy. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
And so I really felt like this is a really great piece to begin conversation, or to facilitate conversation around, because I do feel like it's difficult people of color don't have much problem talking about racism because it's what we're dealing with all day, every day. So we love to get together and talk about it. It's like inevitable because somebody did something today, or something. So white folks don't really have to think about like racism because it's not like paper cutting them all day long.
Also, I don't want to be labeled as a racist.
Right. Well, which is not.
So I don't automatically think that I'm going to be. I see what you're saying. You're saying like I don't even think about racism on a regular basis. It's true. But when the conversation comes up,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on the outside of it because I'm like, I don't want to consider myself
Right.
like part of that group.
Yeah, and that's what's tricky, right? Is like it becomes really difficult to like if it's not really like I think there was some time, and my mom is great. She lets me have all kinds of really difficult conversations with her, and at one point she said to me, very rightly so, and I was so glad she said like because I was like, you should watch this and you should read this, and she was like, it's just it matters so much more to you than it does to me. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. Like, it's not actually a problem that she's encountering at all in her day unless she's on the phone with me, or thinking about my daughter, or,
Right.
So, I mean, that was really helpful in perspective, and I really felt like this play is just the type of thing that's like a palette. It's so much of like what we're actually experiencing in life that it's hard not to see and hard not to talk about because it's such an easy reflection of life. And I was really eager to be a part of that conversation,
Yeah, I think the play is interesting because not that people of all different colors and shapes and sizes won't appreciate
Oh gosh, I so enjoyed it.
the
I was
play.
like, yes.
But so I saw the play in Boston, and I remember immediately, because I knew what the play was about, which is about just real simply race and art, to bring it down to just 2 words. And I remember being like, it's yet again an all-white audience. And it actually wasn't all white, but like mostly. And I remember thinking, that's so annoying that like it's going to be about, it's a race play and it's going to be for a white audience. But then I discovered pretty quickly that it's for a white audience. And that what's directly stated in the play and in Claudia's foreword to the play is that it's not, it's about looking in the mirror. It's not your issue.
Right.
It's my issue.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to do this play, is
Yeah.
that it's actually perfect for the current, Gable Stage core audience.
Yeah.
Perfect for any audience. It's also it's a fresh, I love her writing because it's
Yes.
fresh and fun, and it doesn't make you feel, because that was the other thing. So it's like, am I going to leave this feeling guilty or bad? And instead, it does what every great play does, which is lead to endless conversation and change, really.
Right.
Because of the change of perspective.
Right. And I think it does such a great job of exploring so many different experiences and perspectives through the different characters. There's
It does.
so much to think about, talk about,
Yeah.
because all of us have experienced, like through the mirror, everyone should be able to see and know that reflection and see it in a way that it's not a bad thing. It's who we are. It's where we are.
Yeah.
And then we have this amazing opportunity to grow and move into this new space where we all understand and have sort of like this new foundation for like the ground we're standing on and how we move forward with conversations, with relationships,
Together.
together. Yeah.
So for the month, so we're opening the play on February 25th. And from now until then, or from the beginning of February until then, you are hosting conversations about.
I'm doing a series of conversations from the folks who are working on the white card, who are Black, and wanting to, just have an opportunity to understand sort of like how they came to theater and
That's
be
cool.
interested in this.
Interesting.
Because, especially when you're talking about crew and designers, traditionally, there's been less people of color behind the scenes, and that's beginning to change very slowly. And so I thought, what a great opportunity to talk to those folks and sort of see what their experience has been, not just with this play, but like,
Yeah.
in general as theater makers, and learn a little bit about, what kind of challenges they see, what good things they're seeing, what changes they're seeing, what they'd like to see happen.
So it's like Camilla, our costume designer, who everybody's in love with,
Oh, she's amazing.
who has a really phenomenal career with the opera and as a freelancer and many, many, many cruise ships that she's designed for and run. I'm thrilled that she is becoming a more and more integral part of the company. And that's like another thing that this play has done. It's like opened the door to all these new designers for us, but also
Right.
Q, lighting designer,
Yeah.
Brandy, sound designer, Lydia, director.
Yeah.
So you're having conversations with all these people. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh my gosh, and it's been so fun, and it's been really hard to like not talk for hours and hours.
Right.
But I'm like, great. I'm gonna put all of y'all in my pocket, and we'll just keep talking
That's
from
great.
now till for whenever.
I love it.
In
Okay,
life.
so you're doing conversations with.
Yes.
You're doing a series of workshops. Is it 10 workshops? 8 workshops?
No, it's 5 workshops.
5 workshops.
5 workshops that are, about equity and inclusion.
Open to the public, but you have to sign up.
Yes.
But you don't have to take all 10.
You don't have to take all of them.
All 5.
All 5, yeah. I think it's 5.
You can sign up, and I think you can sign up on our website.
Right.
They're like
They're 1 hour.
1 hour once a week, starting February
11th.
February 11th.
And yeah, I mean, one of the things that, anybody who's worked with Voices United knows that the one of my kind of secrets is, it's not, it's not that revolutionary, but it was something that, I landed on when I was young, trying to figure out like, well, how can I get over 100 people from all over Miami to like work together like magically? And so I really like to use play, like games,
Yeah.
a lot. And I've been doing that for, forever. So, the workshops will be really just an introduction and an opening to, let's open the door to the concepts of equity. What does it mean to be, in an equitable space or work at an equitable company? Because the conversation is constantly evolving. We're really, I think, in a good place where I've always been kind of fighting for social justice in my own way. The conversation has really evolved and into a place where I think it's more responsive, where for a long time, regardless of whether or not it was working, we were like, everybody should just be friends, and if we love each other, then racism will be gone. And, I mean, you can write some really inspiring songs about that. We've got plenty, but that simply doesn't do it, I mean, even if we have a great relationship, like our relationship doesn't transcend, like, make all of the racism in America, go away. So.
And having what I've learned is just because you have a good relationship with someone, just because you're friends with someone, doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't microaggressions that you're unaware of or even aware of that you can't navigate.
Right, because we're all socialized in this country with racist ideas, and so it happens to all of us, I mean, I have racist ideas even about myself, because that's just how...
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes, right? I mean, when being adopted, such a rich experience, and also, whew, what an adventure, So, I grew up really I grew up in Pinecrest, The only people that I saw that were black or brown, sometimes it was like the people who came like maybe to mow the lawn or fix something in the house, and so I really didn't, then what I saw on the news, I was like really worried about myself, like, oh gosh, because the only opportunity for me to see people of color was really not in a great light, I think that this series of workshops, what I want to do is just in 5 hours, give people a sort of understanding of why it's important for us to be having these conversations and for us all to do our own exploration and learning, and for us to, together explore some sort of like tools and techniques or practices that people can use, and then also to sort of discover and create a comfortable path for everyone forward. so that hopefully, the folks who are involved in that workshop, have an idea of how they want to pursue their own journey for more justice in this world. And that's not just racism, right? I think, the mechanisms of racism that exist in our world have been repurposed to oppress everyone, right? In all groups, right? So once you sort of understand how these things are happening, you can apply it to all of the spaces, where we all need to be learning how to be more inclusive, how to be more careful about our language, right? And so that's where young people can always help you out.
I'm with Katie Christie of Voices United, and we are having brunch with Bari. With delicious, I'm eating a rum, I don't know what little castle, a rum castle, from, what was it, Chocolate Fashion in downtown Coral Gables, and you are having what I imagine to be a delicious piece of lemon pound cake from the cellar right here at the Biltmore. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so you have conversations with these incredible Miamian, well, not just Miami, Southeastern theater makers of color. You are conducting 5 workshops on equity, inclusion, and diversity, open to the public, starting on February 11th. But people do have to sign up on our website. And it was amazing, the moment we announced them, we immediately had signups.
Cool.
I think we're closing the class at 25 or 25. And there might be a handful of spaces still left, so if people want to sign up, you should do so soon. I know that many of them are already at 2021, which is so exciting that it's something that people are desirous of.
Yeah.
And then during the course of the play, you're doing after conversations, and what will those be like?
Well, actually, during the run, I'll be doing, some engagement after the shows, but then there's also some other stuff that I'll talk about after that.
Okay. Right.
So, for me, what I feel like, I'm really interested. I've always been really interested in engaging audiences and, communicating with audiences and getting the audiences involved in whatever is happening on stage. It's always been something fun for me. And I really think it's an important way to, a lot of times people come and see theater, we come with our partners or our friends or our, family members, and we leave, and we might talk about it with them a bit, but we're not getting an opportunity to really always really sit and stew and really process what we've experienced. We sort of get up and we're like, and we talk for a moment as we're walking to our car or whatever, and then
we
it's
go to dinner.
Where are we going to dinner? And so that's, and it doesn't mean that people don't continue those conversations later, but I really love this idea of creating space right in that moment, because I think that, the more ways we experience one thing, the deeper it gets into our bodies, our souls, our hearts. So I wanted to create some ways for people to connect more deeply to the content in the play, but for that to be in a non-threatening way, So I've created 2 different types of engagement that will happen, I guess, kind of back and forth. And both of them will allow people to express their thoughts and feelings and reflections about the play, and hear from other people to think about what this experience means from a lot of different perspectives, and also know that they won't be challenged in that moment. So, it's important to me to create a space where when somebody says well, I felt like this and that, the other thing, and that made me uncomfortable, that somebody can't be attacked for what they're saying. I disagree. well, that makes me feel like maybe I don't want to participate in the conversation again.
Or that I'm wrong.
Or that, right, which is not really possible. My experience is my experience. And so I'm really, thrilled with these two different models that sort of allow folks to take some time, deepen their experience with the play, actually also maybe connect more deeply with other people in the theater, which we don't often get to do.
Right.
And think about it from even more perspectives, like it's an opportunity to, we have our own experience, but I can learn even more from a production when I think about how you experienced it and how he experienced it, right? And so, and they won't be super time consuming.
Like 20 minutes or so after every single performance.
After every single performance.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And before each performance.
There's going to be some like engagement that people can connect with that's just out in
on
the
their
space.
way in.
Right. So some things that you can grab maybe to take home. And then also we've got some prompts. Maybe you can make a social justice poster and win a prize. And then there's also, another little game that you can participate in that's connected to the play, and also maybe win a prize. So, just wanting to maximize opportunities for people to have more ways to connect, not just with the play, but with each other around a theater experience. So what more can happen before? What more can happen after?
Yeah.
And then also giving people lots of different ways in for that.
Exactly.
Not everybody has time or interest, or not everybody wants to be involved in a conversation after the play.
Yeah.
But maybe I feel really comfortable just sitting on my own and creating this thing that I'm drawing or that I'm writing. So. Just kind of making it possible for lots of people to connect with the material, regardless of like their level of comfort.
Yeah, I think it's all about figuring out different lenses into the material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll be doing pre-show talks before every performance of The White Card too, and sometimes I might have a special guest. But it's been really exciting for me just to try these out. I've been doing sometimes like 10 to 15 minutes before a performance, just kind of a dramaturgical overview. And what started out as like 5 people coming, because I was like unsure if I was really able to do every single performance, so I didn't want to like make a thing about it, turned into like 40, 50 people coming and expecting that to happen, which has been invigorating for me as I like begin this new chapter for Gable Stage, that people really are hungry to learn and hungry to deepen the experience of theater playing a role really in their own lives. I'm trying to like stay away from the idea of watching theater.
Right.
Like watching TV, which is a passive experience, which is part of why Claudia does not want The White Card to be streamed. Right? She does not want the viewer to be able to, pause it.
Right.
Or look away or answer the phone. It's something that deserves and requires full engagement.
Yeah.
Thanks, Katie.
Yes, thank you.
I'm beyond like thrilled that you're here and that you're such an integral part, not only of this process, but of the artistic community of Miami, of which I'm now part.
Yes, it's my pleasure, and I'm so thrilled to be here working with you and at this theater and on this play.
Before we go, I mean, I know that you know Gable Stage well, and so do you have a vision for the future of Gable Stage? From the educational lens, I know you have a strong viewpoint anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, as somebody who's come up in this community, who's always been interested and connected to theater, Gable Stage symbolized to me a theater that was really had its own relationship with the community, that was not necessarily reliant or dependent on larger national trends of theater, and that really meant a lot to me. That what was happening here felt like it was more outside of the box, a little bit like pushing folks to think about different things, talk about different things. And so, I love to see, how, there became some programming around Shakespeare when Terrell Abbott McCraney's shows were here. And I'd love to just see that sort of thing grow, because I think that people who love theater, but there's so many people who don't understand how much there is for them in theater, and I feel like Gable Stage is already positioned in the community to be a space to welcome more people, more young people.
So I hope that you'll continue with Gable Stage and helping on that front, develop that part.
Goodness, yes. Okay. I always have visions for what can be happening with young people and communities and relationship building. To me, it's like the greatest, most fun thing to do is see that happening. So
great.
Yes.
Let's have fun.
I'm in. I'm in.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.